Orphan boy gets possessed by a legendary demon sword. When he was about to die, later on, he finds out that he has become immortal. Our story begins as we see a young girl crying while beating Shino's chest, begging him to stay alive. Everything around them is on fire and destroyed. He has a huge injury on his chest and cannot move or talk. He gets lost in his final thoughts on how he couldn't protect his family. He's filled with regret and sadness. He lost his parents when he was young and took Hamaji, the little girl, and Sasuke, who's also laying by his side, injured, on his deathbed. They became his family, but now he lost it all. A mysterious man appears from the flames, holding a sword, and offers it to the dying Shino, asking him to make his decision. Shino makes his decision and accepts the offer to stay alive, while also saving Sasuke from a tearful death. They end up being taken to a nearby village, but the villagers want them to leave, as they think they are cursed and will spread disease, just like it happened in their previous village. Their fear only increases, because it has passed 5 years after the incident, but Shino didn't age at all. He's still stuck in his 13-year-old body. This is because of the katana he was given, Murasama, a demonic sword capable of killing both demons and gods. Murasama is sealed inside Shino, but being in possession of Murasama means that the body is frozen in time, which explains Shino's young appearance. When Murasama isn't a sword, he appears as a crow, watching over Shino. He also talks like a person and will occasionally perch on Shino's arm when the boy calls to him. The Imperial Church has been after Murasama for a long time. After hearing that Murasama was last seen at Utsuka village, and they learn about the survivors, they piece together that one of them could have the sword. 5 kitsune from the church try to persuade them to go with them, but they refuse, and Shino destroys them with Murasama. Later, Shino and Sasuke rescue a kid from their new village who's being attacked by a spirit, but the distraction causes the kitsune to kidnap Hamaji. Shino and Sasuke realize the church is declaring war against them, and decide to travel to the Imperial City to save their little sister. Upon arriving at the city, they are approached by the guards of the Imperial Church, but they are saved in time by Ryo Satomi. Ryo brings them to a hotel, where he tells them that Hamaji is safe with Kaname. Ryo explains that he and Kaname are both members of the 4 families of the sacred beasts. They are individuals who are possessed by deities. Ryo is possessed by Yatsufusa, the spirit dog. Kaname is possessed by the spirit of the 5 foxes. They all serve under the Imperial Church, with Ryo serving as a priest within their ranks. Sasuke asks Shino about his relationship with Ryo. Shino answers that it was Ryo who saved them 5 years ago and gave Murasama to him. The next day, Shino and Sasuke visit Ryo, and straightforwardly asks why he wanted Shino to come. Ryo takes 2 beads out of his drawer. One is red, while the other is blue. He tells them about Fusaheim and the 8 demons. According to the legend, Fusaheim saved Japan from the evil princess of disaster Tamasuza, who caused the Dark Ages in the country. When the 8 demons died, they left beads scattered around the country. Ryo is already in possession of the 2 beads, piety which belongs to Sasuke, and duty from Shino, also known as the bead that has the strongest powers. Ryo asks them to find the other 6 holders of the beads. Shino initially argues his disinterest in the idea, but Sasuke silently agrees and leaves the room. After Ryo asks Shino if something feels different with Sasuke, to which he replies that it doesn't matter. He reluctantly accepts the mission and leaves Ryo's office. While walking through the town, a demon appears, and Shino jumps in to lead it away from all the townspeople. He and the demon get far enough away, but they never fight because the demon is a person and anxiously tries to fight its own demon form. The village monks catch up with them and notice Shino holding Murasame. The monks attack them with arrows. Sasuke is injured by an arrow when Shino, Sasuke, and the demon fall into the river. Kabungo, who was following them, saves them, including the demon, and brings them to a cottage in the mountains to recover. There, the demon, who turned back into his human form, introduces himself as Inukai Jinpachi. Kabungo relays that he and Jinpachi were previously members of the military that conducted a rescue mission in the north. They were killed by a demon until they were saved by the beads. Meanwhile, Saren is persistent. He and the monks follow them into the mountains and shoot arrows with fire into the cottage. Kabungo and Jinpachi turn into demons and annihilate the monks. The fire burns the cottage into ashes, and before it can destroy the nearby forest, Shino commands Murasama to make it rain. Murasama obeys the command, putting out the fire. Shino scolds Jinpachi for wasting his life and tells him to find another person who can make him see the beauty of life. Days have passed. Shino and Sasuke are still in search of the beads, but they don't have any clue where to look. Shino reads an article about 5 hikers who passed away after returning from the mountains. He suspects he might find clues about the bead holders, so he decides to go to the village to ask for more information. The mountain is off limits because a monkey deity resides in it. Anyone who enters the mountain doesn't ever come back. But the hikers were able to make it out because a mysterious woman guided them and gave them some water. Ryo points out that this was the same as what happened to the Shino's village before an epidemic happened. When he arrived at the mountain, there is a heavy downpour. He notices that the beads of duty and piety are glowing, but he doesn't notice a nearby cliff. He slips and falls. When he wakes up, he realizes the duty bead that belongs to Sasuke has gone missing. While looking for it, the monkey deity appears. Shino asks it to help him look for the bead. Instead, the deity gives him a gold rock. He is thinking about the woman who guided the hikers when his thoughts are interrupted by his friends, who followed him there. The villagers see them coming out of the mountain and bring them to the village. A doctor, Seiki, checks Shino and the others. She concludes nothing is abnormal with them. She then brings them to the village church where they can stay. Shino decides to continue looking for the bead. Meanwhile, Sasuke decides to clean the church. There, he is attacked by Kino and Yuzaka, a member of the dance troupe that is in the village at the same time. He mistakes Sasuke being the one that killed his family before. Shino arrives as Kino stabs Sasuke. He tries to defend his brother, but Kino proves to be a great swordsman. He is about to strike a blow when Kakano, Kino's mistress, appears. She tells him that he is wrong about Sasuke. To support this, Sasuke transforms into a dog, as it's the power of his bead. Kino realizes that, despite having the same face, this is not the same man he is looking for. As an apology, Kakano offers any service to Shino. So, he takes the opportunity and asks her to look for the missing bead in the mountain. Meanwhile, the villagers found out about the gold rock that Shino brought from the mountain. They demand them to accompany them into the mountain. The mountain is off limits because the monkey deity only allows children to enter the area. That's why it allowed Shino and the others to pass through. Murasama follows them and breaks the mountain barrier, which causes heavy rainfall. The villagers are happy, but soon are killed by the berserk monkey deity. Shino commands Murasama to stop the flooding caused by the deity's rampage. But the only one who calmed the deity down is Seiki, the doctor. She made a promise to the deity to come back when she was a child. Shino asks the doctor to tell the deity to stop its rampage. She calls the monkey deity by its real name, Shinano. She tells him that she's happy to see him again. This calms the deity. The flood disappears, and the sun shines again on the mountain. Shino never found out who the mysterious woman is, but he finally has the missing bead with the help of Kakano. In addition, he gains another friend in Kino and Yuzaka. Back in the city, Ryo gives a job to Sasuke as a priest. Shino watches his friend carry on his tasks beside Ryo inside the church. In there, he meets Kohaku, a beautiful lady with blonde hair and golden eyes. Shino immediately knows that the lady only has a few days to live due to her sickness. He gives her an amulet and wishes her God's protection. Kino offers to teach Shino swordsmanship, but he petulantly refuses. They begin to have a playful tussle when Shino notices that the heart inside Kino is not his own. Kino admits that he once tried to avenge his family by going after the guy who looked like Sasuke. He injured him by stabbing his eye. The guy retaliated, however. He cut Kino's heart and left him for death. Unbelievably, Kino was still alive when Kakano arrived at the scene. She was so attracted by his beauty that she decided to give him her heart. At that point in the conversation, Kakano sees them. Shino calls her Yashahime, and she confirms that she's a spirit that has been with Kino ever since. He goes back to the city where he gets lost and is picked up by Jinpachi on his horse. They soon run into Kino, who is patrolling the streets. They talk for a few moments until Murasama feels someone coming towards them. Suddenly, the man who looks like Sasuke appears before the three of them. Kino attempts to fight him, but the man stops him, freezing Kino's time. The man goes up to Shino. He says some words Shino told Sasuke in the past and then leaves. Time continues and Kino becomes unfrozen. Jinpachi asks Shino if he knows the man, to which he responds that he doesn't, but he obviously knows Shino. Shino immediately tells Ryo about it. Ryo tells him Sasuke is most likely missing half of his soul. He says that it is dangerous for two halves of a soul to be walking the earth, and commends Shino for his strong ability to keep Sasuke living for 5 years. He tasks Shino with continuing to keep Sasuke alive. The next day, Shino is stopped by Kino, who accuses him of knowing Sasuke's lookalike. They argue about it for a minute until Jinpachi throws water on them both. Shino and Sasuke go back to the church to fix more things until they see the woman with the golden eyes again. As Sasuke maintains the church, Shino learns more about the woman, Kohaku's coworker visits the church and asks him if he wants to see Kohaku, so Shino agrees. But when he sees Kohaku, the woman looks agitated. She tells Shino that children are not allowed in those kinds of places. She tells him to go away, but Shoichi refuses to let Shino go, pointing a gun at him. In the middle of the argument, Shoichi shoots Shino. Murasama goes berserk, turns into a dragon, and devours the man. Jinpachi arrives and takes Shino away from Kohaku, but is stopped by Ryo, and they all go to his home. Sasuke scolds him about the danger of people with guns. Shino says he only wanted to scare the man since he was threatening Kohaku, but Murasama decided to eat him instead. Sasuke slaps him for acting recklessly and making him worry. Sasuke goes back to the church and finds Kohaku. Sasuke tells her that Shino will be okay. Kotaku blames herself for Shino's situation. She leaves, and as she walks through the streets, her shadow shows her to have wings as if she's a demon. Shino complains about his inability to protect people and people getting hurt protecting him. There are marks on his body from Murasama, which are painful, but he doesn't regret the power he wields. Ryo goes into the bathroom to check on Shino and sees him laying in the bathtub half-conscious and in pain. Suddenly, Murasama screams and exclaims from Shino's arm how hungry he is and physically transforms Shino into his 18-year-old self, now with longer hair and red eyes. Murasama once again roars of starvation and makes Shino bite into Ryo's neck. Shino passes out and lays on the floor with Ryo sitting against the bathroom wall. His neck is bloody, but he talks about this incident being a door of opportunity. The next morning, Kane Masaki is walking with two of the Kitsune to check on Ryo. Ryo apologizes for the early call, but there is an emergency. After an off-screen explanation that the person in bed with Ryo is Shino in his true form, Ryo explains to Kane that he had to suffer to see what Shino would do. Kabungo and Jinpachi enter the room to check in on Shino and talk more about Kohaku and her origins. Kabungo opens the bed curtains to see Shino. After also being surprised with his new look, Shino wishes to go see Sasuke at the church. When they get there, they see Kohaku talking with Sasuke and on the verge of transforming into a monster. She tells them her story and grows wings. Before she can attack, Shino stops her. He tells her everything, including his story before he was saved. He takes out Murasama as a sword and explains to Kohaku that she's beautiful and sees her as an angel from a picture book. Kohaku gains back her humanity and Shino ends Kohaku's suffering with Murasama. Sasuke tells Shino not to blame himself for Kohaku's situation. He tells Shino to visit Hamaji, but Shino is too tired. He eventually falls asleep and physically turns back to his 13-year-old self. This incident reached the Central Church's upper ranks. They question Ryo about Shino. They theorize that Shino could be immortal, but Ryo lies to hide that fact. Meanwhile, Shino and Murasama walk down the street. They plan to go buy some candy, but Shino gets pulled into an alleyway by Sasuke's other self. Shino identifies that the man is not really Sasuke, but a mere shadow that has the same memories. The man vows to get whatever he is still missing, just like the golden eye that he got from Kohaku in Kino's heart, leaving Shino confused. Shino sits on some steps when Sasuke finds him. They go back to the inn together and the Kitsune tell them about Ryo's questioning at the church. They decide to go there. When they arrive, Murasama breaks the barrier that the church set up. They then split up to find Hamaji and Ryo. Shino runs into the church's guardian, Lilith. They have a short fight, but thankfully, as Shino runs away, Ryo appears and hides him under his clothes, which saves him from the pursuit of Lilith. However, Ryo suspends Shino's allowance since he was acting recklessly. Finally, Shino sees that Hamaji is okay. The church releases her in Kane. That night after the incident, Kabungo, Jinpachi, and Kino get together in the inn. Kino tells them that he also has the peony birthmark on his chest. In addition, his mistress Kakano informs them that all three of them have been born with a bead. Kino's bead is wisdom, Jinpachi's bead is faith, and Kabungo's is brotherhood. When Shino and Sasuke arrive, they see the beads, and Shino thinks that he now has 5 beads, until he realizes that Sasuke's shadow stole his bead. Watch this next video. See you on the next one.